This is the Wrestling Matters Podcast, and I am your host, Juwan the Don. Today is episode 2, and we will be discussing UFC Fight Night, Thompson versus Neal. Specifically, Deron Winn and Jose Aldo. We'll also go over the 8-man bracket for $25,000, the Wisconsin Underground 2, and Aljo Sterling versus RBY. And with no further avail, we'll get right into it today. We'll be going over Deron Winn. Deron Winn, as predicted on episode 1 of the Wrestling Matters Podcast, got the UFC win this weekend and got to his wrestling, landing 12 of 16 takedowns. Hearing the new UFC contract after this fight. And although he's only 5'5", maybe 5'6", do not sleep on this guy. He's a serious 185-pound middleweight contender. Although he's not ranked yet, once this guy finds his full comfortability and range, he's an elite athlete. He's going to be right there. Speaking of elite, this UFC victory puts him in elite company. He is now one of only 5 fighters in UFC history who have both landed 150 significant strikes in a single fight, which he did versus Spice Lee, and at least 10 takedowns in a fight, which he did this past Saturday against Antonio Arroyo. Can anyone guess who the other 4 fighters are? I'll give you guys a second. I don't want to spoil it for you. All right, I'm going to repeat it one more time. He's became only one of 5 fighters in UFC history who have a fight with 150 significant strikes landed and another fight with 10 takedowns landed. Those other 4 fighters are welterweight champ Kamaru Usman, legend Johnny Hendricks, absolute stud and former champ, I believe the next title contender at 125 for the women, Jessica Andrade, and also Colby Chaos Covington, who's a dog himself. So that's elite company. This guy, Deron Winn, is training at AKA American Kickboxing Academy in California, where Khabib is trained, Luke Rockhold, Daniel Cormier. He'll be fine. I think I'm going to bet on the wrestler. History tells me the wrestlers from that gym are very successful. So congrats to Deron Winn, new contract. Can't wait to see him fight again in 2021. Okay, in the co-main event for UFC Fight Night, Thompson versus Neal, it was Chito Vera versus Jose Aldo. We slightly previewed this fight last week. I was very confused with the result here. I thought this was a robbery, and I thought the judges got it wrong. Sorry, that's just how I saw it. Jose Aldo won, but the official fight stats say that Aldo was outstruck 92-60. Chito Vera also had the slight edge on significant strikes, and they each were credited for 0 takedowns on 3 and 2 attempts respectively. In the third round, Vera pressed Aldo, and they were tied up in the clinch, and somehow Aldo ended up in a body triangle standing. So the fight did eventually go to the ground, but no one actually took anyone down. But Aldo was in dominant position for that third period. I'll give him that. But Aldo did nothing with the lock other than rack up control time, and I'm guessing that's why he got the victory. Yeah, I didn't like that. You're outstruck 92-60. You don't land any takedowns. Okay, you're in the clinch. You get the body triangle, dominant position, but if you know that no one's going to get out of it, the least you can do is catch up on strikes or get some serious submission attempts. But yeah, Chito Vera looked very frustrated, but up until that third round, I thought he looked good. He'll be back, and he's a top 10. He's a top 10 to top 5 guy. Chito Vera will get there. He didn't get the shortcut this weekend that he was hoping for, but he'll be fine. Afterwards, after Jose Aldo won, he called out TJ Dillashaw, who returns from suspension next month. That could be a potential fun one. You never know. TJ Dillashaw, former champ, one of the greatest bantamweight champs. Jose Aldo, one of the greatest featherweight champs. It's a big fight. He told Dana White to make it happen. I don't see Dana White not making it happen. TJ Dillashaw versus Jose Aldo would be an exciting fight. I'm not sure what happens there. I'll have to dive into the film and come to you guys with a better prediction. All right, next, guys. We'll go over the Flowrestling 8-man bracket for $25,000. Bajrang Punia was your champ at 150 pounds, winning $25,000. The full bracket is filled out and can be seen on our Instagram. The link is in the description right there. Follow us on Instagram, guys. We have the Facebook page up. Keep following us. We're going to be consistent, bringing you guys content on wrestling and UFC and all of our guys that are out there still making money in the sport of wrestling and still need support, whether that be in Bellator, ONE FC, freestyle wrestling, Greco, amateur wrestling. We're going to cover it. Bajrang Punia from India dominated. He was the guy. The full bracket is filled out. I want to talk about the finals here. He wrestled James Green in the final, former Nebraska Husker. Early in the finals between Green and Punia, there was no action. Then Green was hit, and I don't think he was put on the shot clock, but I believe he was warned to be more active. After that, Green shot in, and Punia hit a head pinch for 2, and Bajrang Punia went up 2-0. Then James Green got in on a low single shot, finished for 2. Boom. 2-2. Green up on criteria. Most recent score gives him the lead for criteria. Then Green gets on a shot, and he gets a big lift, but he finishes for just 2. Now Green's up 4-2. Green gets on another shot. Bajrang Punia has a nice front headlock, front head position. He's running side to side. Boom, go behind. 4-4. Bajrang Punia is up on criteria. We're tied 4-4 at the break. Then immediately after break, boom, Bajrang Punia comes in, gets a takedown, gets a turn. He's up 8-4. After that, James Green's attacking. A lot of defense, a lot of savvy, leg hooks, and just a lot of Keith Gavin-esque and just some real international wrestling for Punia to keep Green off him. Punia is your champ. He finishes the match 8-4 in the final. So in first place, we have Bajrang Punia taking $25,000. In second place, we have James Green taking $15,000 home. Third place, we have Alec Pantaleo taking $10K. And with $5,000 in fourth place is Anthony Ashnault. All right. First round matches. In the first round, Bajrang Punia had a win over Pat Lugo 6-1. Lugo wrestled him well. Lugo got him on the legs and got very close to finishing. It can be very frustrating wrestling Punia because you can do a lot of work to get nothing because he kicks out and he's very comfortable. So Lugo looked good, man. Lugo looked decent in a 6-1 loss, as hard as that may sound, but tough match. Okay. The second match was Anthony Ashnault over Evan Henderson, and this was 6-6 on criteria. Barn burner. As expected and predicted last week, I figured this would probably be one of the better first-round matches. And I maybe had too much faith in those two guys, but Ashnault and Henderson are fun wrestlers. They're right at the same level. For those of you that aren't familiar, you may look at it and say it was a tie, but it was 6-6 on criteria. Whoever has the highest scoring point or the most recent point wins. So Ashnault got the last score there, and he was able to get the win over Henderson 6-6. Now this is the upset of the bracket here. In the first round, Alec Pantaleo over two-time NCAA champ Jordan Oliver 4-4. Wow. Then you have James Green over Bryce Meredith 10-0. I don't think the match was over. I think there was like a ghost 2 on there that they gave James Green. And Meredith got taken down and got turned, so he should have been down 4-0. When Meredith gets up, he sees the clock, he sees the score says 6-0, and he's like, "What? Like, what is going on? Like, I didn't give it. Why am I down 6?" And as he's doing that, James Green, no mercy, opposite of Stephen Thompson. It's crazy in MMA, someone can show more mercy than in wrestling. It's weird like that sometimes, but he just blitzes him and throws him off the mat and picks him up and drops him for 4. And then since it wasn't properly protested and Meredith didn't throw a brick, it was 10-0, and that's your tech fall, and that's the match. So that was it for Meredith. We didn't get to see much from him. The first round, guys lost in the first round didn't get to wrestle back. So if you lost in the first round, you got $1,000, and you took fifth through eighth. So that was that. There was a young girl. They had matches in between. I believe her name was Ikai or Ik. She's 19 years old. Elite prospect. Be looking out for her. I'm going to figure out how to pronounce her name and correct that next week. Apologies. She had an amazing throw. I believe it was a lat or like an over-under throw, and the girl pressured into her, and she threw her right to her back and got the pin. So that was awesome to see some good wrestling on the card. In the semifinal matches, Bajrang Punia beat Anthony Ashnault 9-0. Wasn't a very competitive match. Sorry to say I wasn't very intrigued in that match. Ashnault's good, so he might be able to close the gap a little bit, but he didn't look to have much for him. Then you have James Green over Alec Pantaleo 4-2. James Green doing James Green-like things in a close match. Pantaleo's right there with him, though. 4-2 is close. So once again, first place Bajrang Punia, second place James Green, third place Alec Pantaleo, fourth place Anthony Ashnault. All right. And more on Bajrang Punia. He is amazing at shot defense. When you get on his legs, he'll either score or he'll find a way to kick out of there. Pat Lugo and James Green really wrestled him very well. It's very hard to finish on him. He's probably going to be the overall favorite going to the Olympics next year at 65 kilograms, representing India. Due to his activity and win percentage, he'll probably be the favorite. I think the USA's best shot to beat him specifically is Yanni Diakomohalis, but it's going to be a potentially tough day at the Olympic trials for Yanni because we have a lot of contenders at that weight. Pantaleo is on fire, guys. He has a lot of momentum. He wrestled well and made $10,000 in third place. He also recently won a chunk of change going undefeated at the RTC Cup. He said some wise words about not cutting weight after, and he will be moving up to 74 kilograms, which is 163 pounds. And his main focus will be being our USA World Team member on our non-Olympic years at 70 kilograms or 154 pounds. Looking forward to more matches with him and James Green in the future. It was 4-2, super close match in the semifinals, and he also pulled the biggest upset of the bracket, beating two-time NCAA champ and world-class freestyle stud Jordan Oliver. So yeah, Pantaleo, I'm interested to see where he fits in and weight. I don't know. 74 is ugly, but don't sleep on Pantaleo anywhere. I like his plan to be focused on being a 70-pounder, and you're 2 points away from the world silver medalist at 70 kilograms, James Green. That's just 4-2. So I like Pantaleo's odds next year after the Olympics at 70 kilograms. Look for him to try to crack the world team. Also, the weight cut, guys. I think wrestling getting to a point where we're evolving out of the necessity to cut a lot of weight. Like, people are addressing it for what it is. You saw Pantaleo. You would think with Pantaleo beating Oliver, he would want to go down to 65. He says no. He wants to not be depleted at the end of his wrestling. He wants to feel good and wrestle to the best of his ability so he can be proud of himself. And that's what it's about, coming at your strongest weight, not being scared or not feeling overly influenced to cut down a lot of weight. And we saw that with Deron Winn this weekend as he went off on the media and said some vulgar comments. But all respect to him, he's not rich and famous, but on his way to being rich and famous. He pretty much is rich and famous. He can say what he wants. So Deron Winn, he tells everyone, I don't care if you think that I'm a midget. I don't care if you think that I'm 5'5". I don't care if you think I'm fat. I don't care if you think I'm chubby. I'm fighting at 185, and I'm cutting weight to get there in the first place. You guys that are talking about me fighting at 170 don't know me, and you guys in the comments talking about me fighting at 155 are sick casuals that know nothing about the sport. You have no real honest knowledge of combat sports. This is a guy that has grappled with Jaden Cox. If you don't know who Jaden Cox is, do the time and do your homework, because Jaden Cox is one of the pound-for-pound best wrestlers in the world. Deron Winn has a victory over him. He's world-class. He had 12 takedowns in a 3-round fight this weekend. So that goes for Daniel Cormier. That goes for the media. That goes for Instagram trolls. Leave Deron Winn alone. Let the thick boy wrestlers learn how to fight. Let him grow in the fight game. And let him make the decisions on his own. Trust him. He's a champ. He's a champ. All right, next, guys, we're going to get into the Wisconsin RTC Underground 2, which is available on the Rockfin app, ROKFIN, where they have underground wrestling hosted by Penn State, Wisconsin, wrestling rankings, podcasts, and a bunch of other content. Seth Gross got a win over world silver medalist Thomas Gilman 4-4 on criteria in a mini preview of a potential Olympic trials semifinal at 57 kilograms. Evan Wick was down early and comes back to Tech Fall Kennedy Monday of North Carolina 16-5. Wick looking to still develop on the senior level, freestyle scene, getting better, getting more experience. Kennedy Monday going to be looking to make a title run for NCAAs for North Carolina. And as their team, wow, when I do the NCAA previews, look out for that team at North Carolina because they got some guys there. They have O'Connor Monday. They got Tag. They have a couple guys. So we got to look out for North Carolina and see where they look at in our team rankings. But that's Evan Wick there with the W. All right, next at the Wisconsin RTC Underground 2, we have Central Michigan 125-pounder and former Indiana high school state champ. That is the brother of world silver medalist Sarah Hildebrandt. That's Drew Hildebrandt, who gets a solid 10-4 win over Eric Barnett of Wisconsin. Look for him to be a contender this year at NCAAs. I want to say a near All-American lock, but look for him to be a contender at NCAAs for sure. And that's Drew Hildebrandt. Also, we have former multiple-time Indiana State placer Graham Calhoun, who is a true freshman at Wisconsin, got a 12-10 win over Tanner Mendoza. Look for Calhoun to take a redshirt year and get experience and be ready to jump into that Wisconsin lineup next year. Graham Calhoun's a stud, man. Big shoes to fill in when you talk about Evan Wick and the history and culture of Wisconsin. They want to compete for titles, but Graham Calhoun's game. So look out for him. Chris Weiler got a fall after collecting a Navy Ride Turk that was initiated by Kobe Woods. Kobe Woods put him on his back and exposed him. And this is where chain wrestling is very important as Weiler gets back up and ends up collecting the fall. You cannot give up or accept being on your back, guys. When you get off your back, let it be with intentions to get a victory. With that being said, I'm big on Kobe Woods to win the NCAA Division III NCAA. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. With that being said, I'm big on Kobe Woods to win the NCAA Division III title at 197, and I think he's all but a lock to All-American there. Kobe Woods has looked good against Division I competition in freestyle, and he had a great U23 tournament. Let's see how it translates to folk style this season as he's a senior at Wartburg University. Keep a lookout for Kobe Woods. Tonight, or December 22nd for some of you, the Penn State / Nittany Lion Wrestling Club is having an event tonight, and some key matches to watch that we will cover are Aljo Sterling versus Roman Bravo Young. UFC fans, I hope I still have your attention. Aljo Sterling is the #1 contender at 135 pounds, a.k.a. bantamweight, a.k.a. the same weight as Jose Aldo, a.k.a. the same weight as TJ Dillashaw is coming back, a.k.a. he was just scheduled to fight for the belt on the 12th. So just December 12th, he was scheduled to fight Peter Yan for the Bantamweight UFC Championship, and Yan pulled out for personal reasons, and Aljamain Sterling pulled the truest flex there is, and the real, he said, he be about it, not talk about it. Tony Ferguson said, "Oh, I'm fighting in December. I'm fighting in December. If not, I'm taking a wrestling match." Aljamain Sterling, he took a wrestling match. RBY, that's tough. Roman Bravo Young is going to be one of the top. He's going to be a top 3 ranked guy in NCAA this year. Edge level world class freestyle guy. It can get ugly here for Sterling. I'm going to go 12-3 victory for RBY. I don't know if RBY will have any showmanship and keep him around, scramble with him. But I've seen RBY training some with TJ Dillashaw before, so this is fun, Sterling's getting a feel. Aljamain Sterling is no swap himself. He was a Division III All-American or champ. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this will be fun. RBY, young All-American from Penn State versus future UFC champ, number 1 contender in UFC, Aljamain Sterling. And Wrestling Matters Podcast is going to predict that to be a 12-3 victory for RBY. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw first period tech fall, though. And then, they got me again on this card, dude. Bajrang Punia versus Zane Rutherford. Yeah, that's a big deal, guys. This is a big deal. Bajrang Punia just wrestled and won the 8-man bracket for $25,000, and he's wrestling already again this week against Zane Rutherford, who is our world team member at 65 kilogram, the guy that's actually beaten Yanni Diakomahalis and all the other field at 65 kilograms domestically. So that's going to be an awesome match. That could be a potential, Olympic match preview. Those guys are world class, high ranked 65 kilogram guys. I'm gonna predict the Zane Rutherford steals this one 6-5. Punia might be a little tired. I could be wrong for saying that. He just wrestled 3 matches. He wasn't tested too hard. But that's going to be fun. I think Zane has enough film, hopefully by now, to close the gap and figure it out and try to assert himself. But that's going to be a crazy scramble, and that's going to be a great match. We also have Nick Lee versus Tariq Wilson, both All-Americans, lightweight guys. This will probably be somewhere around 140 to 150 pounds. I'm going to have Nick Lee winning 14-4. I think Tariq Wilson gets in on a couple attacks. I saw him. He had good attacks the other week at the RTC Cup. But people like Yanni were too much for him. I see Nick Lee being too much for him as well. But I see Tariq Wilson has more of a chance here because Nick Lee will play into his reattack, and Tariq's very quick for his own reattacks as well. All right, we have Ty Walls versus Kyle Snyder. I'm going to predict this to be a 10-0 tech fall for Kyle Snyder. Kyle Snyder got injured, I believe, and lost the match. He's back. He's back now. He lost to Kyvan Gadsden. I know he wasn't happy about that. I expect him to take it out on Ty Walls. Ty Walls is a solid guy. Top 5, 97-kilogram guy for us here in the USA. I didn't see enough offense from him at the RTC Cup to believe that he's going to score on Kyle Snyder, but I'm not here to sleep on Ty Walls either. So that'll be a fun one. We also get to see Matt Lee, Joe Lee, Greg Kirkvliet, and Carter Starachi, which will be a good preview for the Penn State future. We're going to come out with NCAA previews later on, but that's if you guys want to get the Rockfin app and watch the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, that'll be a good way to get yourself a preview for what's going on at Penn State and what's going on in the wrestling world. And guys, that's all for today. Once again, I'm your host, Jawan the Don, and this is the Wrestling Matters Podcast, Episode 2. You see, we finally got the video up. We're going to keep growing and keep offering you guys more, and take us serious because we're going to be dropping serious content, guys. All right, thank you.